Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Topher Drives, where it is an absolutely gorgeous day here in Michigan. I'm going to spend it doing some bring a trailer photography for my buddy Adam at Vintique Motors in Livonia, Michigan. But of course, first, we have to get there. And this is what we are using for our commute this morning. The newly facelifted 2024 Hyundai Elantra N. This car exists solely for times like this, to spice up your commute and make your regular commuter car a bit more exciting. Of course, you all know the Elantra N by now. It's one of my favorite cars in this segment. In fact, it may be my favorite because it just kind of takes things up to 11. They left nothing on the table with this car, and I think that the fact that people in California were getting exhaust tickets with stock exhaust on these cars kind of tells the story about how far Hyundai went with this thing to make it just that fun. But let's talk some basics. I think you guys already pretty much know this car by now. We'll talk about what's new for 2024. We'll jump on the road and we'll see what it's like to commute this thing in the morning. So for 2024, we have new fascias. I know a big complaint about this car was kind of the ugly front bumper. I never had a problem with it personally, but we have a new look for 2024, and I do think it looks better than the outgoing car. We've got a bit more body color going on in the bumper and kind of just a more like squared off aggressive look. I think I said in my Elantra hybrid review that it kind of looks like a 70s muscle car in the front, kind of just with the low hood and kind of the width of the car overall. I don't know. I've never had a problem with the way this thing looks, but I definitely think it looks even better now. We also have some tweaks to the performance area of the Elantra N. It still has the same 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 276 horsepower, 289 pound-feet of torque. This one has a 6-speed manual, but you are able to get an 8-speed DCT. It's front-wheel drive. It has a limited slip differential, and I mean, that's just the perfect recipe for a hot compact. For 2024, we have some tweaks to the steering, suspension, things like that. But most importantly, we have a new engine mount. So when you take off and do a launch control or just kind of get on it in first gear, the engine isn't slapping against the firewall and giving you catastrophic wheel hop, which is what all of the older N cars did. So this one definitely feels a lot more dialed in, and it drives a heck of a lot better than the outgoing car. Let's poke around this. Let's take a look at the trunk. Maybe you work somewhere where you have to take a suitcase with you or something. Where that would be fine, where the Elantra N does not work very well, is if you have to put something very long in here because of this chassis bracing behind the back seat. I've always thought this is one of the neatest things in this car, just because it's so like anti-practical. It's so anti-Elantra. It does have some holes at the bottom, and the seats do still go down, as you can see from these little pull tabs, so you are able to snake some things in there if you absolutely need to, just around the red chassis bracing. But trunk size overall is excellent. Underneath the trunk floor, we don't find a spare tire, but we do find a place to mount one if you do desire to put a space saver in here. But from the factory, we just get an inflator kit, a goop kit, and a tow hook, it looks like. So kind of just the essentials that you need for getting towed off the side of the road. But you could definitely fit some golf clubs in this. Very wide trunk opening. I love the spoiler they put on this car. I love the red accents. I love the massive exhaust tips. And you guys know that N cars are kind of known for the pops and burbles and loud, rowdy exhaust. Hence why people in California are getting state refed, I think they call it, with their stock Elantra Ns. It's so funny. We'll pop the hood and take a look at this 2-liter turbo. Today, for tires, we are running on a Michelin. What kind of Michelin are we running on? Admittedly, I didn't even look before I left today. Pilot Sport 4S 245/35R19. That is a squared setup. No hood struts. You do get an engine cover, though, and turbo. I honestly think that all cars should just have hood struts. I mean, my 2009 Chevy Cobalt SS has hood struts, and that car was like 24 grand new. The Elantra N starts at 34 grand with destination and everything. This one's like 35,000. If you get the DCT, it puts you up 37, 38,000. So no matter what, you're under 40 grand. And I think at mid 30s in today's market, that's kind of what all of these cars go for. And with this being the hottest Elantra, it definitely makes sense. Let's quickly remind you what the back seat looks like in the Elantra N, and then we'll hop up front and we'll go for a drive. Had to redo that bit because I whacked my head on this. So the Roof line is a little bit low. You got to definitely duck when you're getting in. But as far as headroom and legroom once you're actually in the car, it's no problem at all. I mean, this is kind of the same story with the new Honda Civic and most vehicles in this segment. Just have a ton of room back here. I mean, look at, I've got almost like, well, I don't know how much that is, but I've got a lot of room back here behind this really attractive bucket seat. It's a nice environment back here. No vents, but you do get some USB-C ports. Actually, you don't get a fold down armrest. Okay. So just a cup holder on either door pocket for the rear seat passengers. But I think room-wise, you are absolutely golden here in the Elantra. And I appreciate that Hyundai kind of dresses this interior to match the front. Your Alcantara is on the rear door panels. You've got blue stitching on the back seats and Alcantara throughout. So it does match the front. Honda does not do that. Volkswagen does not do that. So it's cool to see some extra effort here from Hyundai. Some more detail in these front door panels, and honestly, my favorite part of N cars interiors are the seats. These are just fantastic. They're beautiful. They hold you in well. They are fully manual, but they are heated, so that helps if you live somewhere cold like Michigan. It's like 45 degrees out right now, so we will be activating the heated seat for our commute. Let's jump in. Let's fire it up. I'm going to see if I can start it in N mode. I think you can do that. Oh yeah, totally can. All right, we're going to start it in my N Custom 2 mode, which has the engine and exhaust in its loudest setting. Yeah, well, it's already warm, so it didn't really make too much noise. We'll let some oil get to that 2-liter, and then we'll give you some revs. Otherwise, the interior in this car has not really changed. There's a black Hyundai badge on the steering wheel now, but I don't really think they did anything else for 2024. That's fine. I never really had a problem with this interior. I don't love the way that this dashboard comes out. It kind of makes you feel a bit claustrophobic if you're in the passenger seat. Luckily this morning we don't have to worry about that. We still have physical climate controls. We still have only wired Apple CarPlay, so let's get my phone plugged in and we will deal with that. Some Phil Collins is probably going to start playing. Yep. Turn that down. All right, let's give you some revs and then we'll go for a drive. Fair share of pops and burbles. I love this car. It sounds like maybe they might have tuned it down for 2024. I feel like I remember it being rowdier, but I may also be thinking of the Veloster N. Cool. All right, well, let's go do a quick little loop around our performance. I always want to call it a track, but, you know, I guess it may as well be. And then we'll jump on the highway and we'll see what this thing is like to commute. We have a Bose sound system in here. We'll let you listen to that. Slick top in here, as the BMW guys would say. No sunroof. Cool. We still have a mechanical handbrake. When's the last time you saw one of these in a 2024 vehicle? I love this so much. I would much rather pull up on my own handbrake than have a little electronic button. But the most important thing about this is us as men and boys can showcase our masculinity by ripping this into parking lots in the winter and doing many of handbrake turns. Show you our reverse camera here. We don't have a 360 cam, but we do have lines that move with the car to help you place the thing. And we'll actually start out not in N mode. We'll just go back to normal and we'll drive a little bit with that. You've got a few different gauge cluster designs. I've got mine set to the eco mode gauge cluster just because it's the easiest on the eyes. This is a very easy manual car to drive at pretty much any speed. I found that a lot of cars nowadays, especially in this segment, have pretty bad rev hang. This car does not, which means it really makes you feel like a hero when you're driving it hard. There's a super definitive grab point for this clutch, so it's easy to drive at low speeds as well. Shifter, you know, I don't love it as much as a Honda shifter, but you can shift the car really fast with it, so that's kind of the biggest perk of it. To be honest with you guys, I have not driven this car in anything other than my custom N mode, so let's just go ahead and put it in that now. Be going slow here for a second so we can talk a little bit more. Engine, limited slip, and exhaust are all in Sport Plus, or their third setting, and steering and suspension and ESC, those are all in Comfort. So this is just kind of my streetable N mode. You also have this button over here to set a different N custom mode. You can do two of them. And I've got N custom 1 kind of set up for the track, everything in full sport, traction control off. So I kind of like that you can have like a street and a track set up here. This is pain. Absolute pain. Which way you gonna go? Which way are you gonna go? Can't go in the middle. I've got a bit of wind noise over here. I thought the window was down when I first got this car, but something is maybe loose, piece of trim or something over here. It's making some noise. All right, we're on some cold Pilot Sport 4S, so we're gonna take this easy. Let's go second. A quick car, just over 3,000 pounds, close to 300 horsepower. I don't know what sort of aftermarket support. I know there are obviously things that people do to these cars. I don't know how much this engine can handle on stock internals. I'd imagine it's probably somewhere in the mid threes, maybe pushing 400 horsepower. The TheTopher has some videos on a modified Elantra N on his channel that would give you a better idea of, you know, what this car can take. Front limited slip does a great job pulling you through corners, and things have been tweaked, and this car feels a lot more confident than it used to. It used to feel a little bit sloppy, and I always used to say for people, if you really want a car in this segment to take on track, get a GR Corolla, get a Civic Type R. This was never really the suggestion, but I would really like to see how one of these performs on track at this point, now that they've kind of tightened things up a bit. Stopped and got our nav set here. We're gonna go ahead and jump on the highway and see what this thing is like to commute. Let's get our fan blowing a bit better, get some airflow. This is a particularly loud section of road. As all of you that watch the videos, you already kind of know this, but you can hear there is quite a bit of road intrusion and wind intrusion from that thing I mentioned earlier. I want to see what it's like off of this rough section here. There you go, that gives you a better idea. We are merged on. All right, I think it's time to take this out of N mode. We'll put it back into our normal drive setting. The exhaust does get a bit droney when you're in your full N mode. It is actually still decently loud though, rolling in normal mode. But you don't really hear it over the rest of the interior intrusion in this car. So it's definitely not going to be the quietest experience for you. Luckily you have that Bose sound system, you can kind of filter some of that out. Being that this is a Hyundai, we have a pretty good lane keep and steering assist system in this car. Press to do steering assist, hold for lane keep, and this will do a lot of the steering for you. Hyundais always let you go a long time before they yell at you to steer. Kind of like to hover my hands though when there's a car coming by. I still haven't touched it, it's still letting me go. This is a very long time at this point. These let you go longer than pretty much anything else, unless you have like a full self-driving thing going on. I'm gonna have to touch the wheel to change lane here in a second. Actually sitting in this car though, I'm quite pleased with this bucket seat. Only thing I wish it had was a bit of lumbar adjustment. I think they could just put one of those little like twist handles on the side of the seat that would adjust your lumbar, but they are heated, so we can't complain there. We'll put this heated seat on setting 1. I had it on setting 3 on my way to location to film this morning, and it was very hot. So setting 1 will do just fine for us. Turn cruise control off. Cruise control often is hard to use in situations like this because the American highway system is so disorganized and nobody ever knows what lane to be in. So we just kind of vibe. It's essentially just a free-for-all, you know, just whatever lane you want, I guess. So nobody cares to do it properly. Ride quality in this car, quite nice. It's firm, but it isn't bouncy and crashy like some of these cars are. My dad drives, or used to daily drive, still has it, doesn't daily it anymore, a Ford Focus RS. And this section of highway in particular was absolutely terrible because the ride was so stiff and crashy on that car. But these kind of hot compacts, hot hatchbacks, they have come a long way since that car. And they've made them a lot more livable. And this, I mean, that's essentially the point of these vehicles, is that you should be able to daily drive them with no problem. And this car does that just fine. See if we can't spiritedly do this clover leaf. I think we're going to catch this Ford Explorer pretty quickly. Should have some heat in these tires by now, so. Alright, let's get to the most exciting part of our morning commute. Why not? Oh, yeah. Alright, we caught him immediately. I think you could pretty easily take this close to 60 miles an hour in this car and it wouldn't complain too much. This is what I mean about the highway system, is like you just there's always somebody that is going around without turn signals and just using whatever lane they please. Not that they have a choice for lane here, but they're just all over the road. People are looking at their phones. But this is always the test in these cars. It's, can you get through a commute and not be angry? I'm going to stick in N mode, I think, for this kind of next portion here. See what that's like to sit on the highway. Yeah, she is texting. Confirming my suspicions. We have a big physical volume knob here in the middle, or you have this volume adjuster here on the steering wheel. Okay, so we've talked about sound systems in this segment quite a bit. We were just in the Civic Si. We talked about the Bose in that car. We just had the Kia Forte GT with its Harman Kardon. We've listened to the Harman Kardon in the Golf GTI, the Harman Kardon in the WRX. This car, it's just all right. I would say it kind of strikes right in the middle of the pack. Definitely not the most impressive sound system from Bose. The one in the Honda Civic is miles better, and the Bose in the Mazda 3 is very much better as well. So it's kind of just a very average sound system for 34 grand. I don't really think you can complain too much, but when you have other systems that are better, you know, you just kind of keep that in mind for when you're cross shopping. But what this car does so much better than other vehicles in the segment is deliver very kind of emotional driving. I think this is kind of the most emotional car in the segment. And a lot of that is delivered kind of just through the raw nature of this car. The loud, raspy exhaust with its pops and burbles. These really nice bolstered bucket seats. For 2024, everything just feels super dialed in this car. And it kind of reminds me of driving an older hot compact. It reminds me a bit of my Cobalt SS Turbo. And that's what's so cool about this thing, is it feels like it shouldn't be allowed in 2024. They've killed the Veloster N, they've killed the Kona N, but we still have the Elantra N, and I hope we continue to have this car. We just drove the Ioniq 5N as well, and yes, that car is very fast, but it's all simulated. This one's real. So how about elbow comfiness for your commute? Well, on the left-hand side, we actually do have some give here to this door panel. I think you could set yourself up nicely. Overall seating position is pretty good in this car. Pretty squishy center console area as well, armrest. So I am really fine, honestly. I got really hot with this heated seat being on, so I turned the climate control down a bit. But these heated seats don't mess around. I suppose now the Honda Civic Si can compete because it now has heated seats for the first time ever. In America, that is. I know they had it in Canada. Are you actually changing lanes, or are you just driving with your turn signal on? We're going to go around you just in case you were going to change lanes. Do not want to be crushed by a semi today. MPG figures for the Elantra N. 29 MPG on the highway, 21 city, 24 combined. So we don't quite sneak into that 30 MPG figure. I mean, the overall experience in this thing, I would say interior-wise, it isn't quite as nice as the Civic Si. I do like the seats better than that car. I suppose really you'd want to compare this to the Type R though, but it kind of splits the difference. Interior material-wise, definitely not the most impressive things in the world. Kind of some scratchy plastic on the dashboard, top of the door panels. Steering wheel though does feel really nice. They put a lot of effort into the N bespoke pieces on this car. Steering wheel, seats, even the shift knob is nice. You can tell that there are some very, very caring car enthusiast engineers over in the N division at Hyundai. It really shows through these cars that these people care. As I say, this isn't my favorite shifter in this segment. It's still fun and satisfying to row gears in this car. And if you're thinking about a DCT, I would say don't be scared. You know, the DCT in these N cars, they're fun. They're tuned to be aggressive. And I know Hyundai doesn't have a great history with their DCTs, but I think they're a little bit more robust in the N cars. Good enough torque in 6th gear to where you can leave it in 6th and execute your passes. But what's the fun in that? Drop a couple gears and make use of that 289 pound-feet of torque. Why not? Life's short. Enjoy your revs. And the blind spot system beeping at you because it always thinks there's a car in your blind spot, even when there isn't. Alright guys, well, we're coming up to the end here of our commute in the Elantra N. I mean, there isn't really a ton new to talk about. You guys know this car already. I'm just kind of here to validate that it is still a very relevant choice in the segment. I love N cars, even though there's really only one true N car left, and it's this. I hope this thing lives on. I hope the hot compact segment continues to thrive as it is now. I've never seen as many hot compacts and hot hatches on the market as we have right now. It's a really great time to be kind of a young enthusiast, because that is what this car is for. Somebody that's my age or younger, to have a car to go to college and back, or you know, you graduate college and you want to get yourself something nice. This is a very affordable car for somebody. Mid $30,000 range. It's fun to drive, it's fast enough, it looks great. I think for 24 they've really sorted out some of the styling woes that they had before. For some reason the car thinks the headlights need to be on. Okay, turn them off. I just like driving this. It's a lot of fun. And that's really all that matters in this. It's practical and it's fun. Kind of the only two things that matter in a hot compact. Rev matching system can be a little bit harsh at times, but it will rev match 1st gear for you. Going slow enough right now to demonstrate that. Get up our driveway. And we'll back this into a spot. We'll take one last look at it. Backup camera quality is good enough. It's actually kind of crispier than I remember it being. I have a question for you guys. When you're driving a manual car and you go to put your handbrake up, do you hold the button and pull it up like this, or do you just rip it up like that? I used to just rip it up, but now I find myself kind of going like that with it. So Curious what your preference is. Cool, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today on the 24 Elantra N 6-speed manual. A really fun car to commute in, and if I was looking at something in this segment, I would definitely strongly consider this thing, just because it is kind of the most raw and the most kind of unhinged vehicle in the segment, I would say. So, all right, well, that's going to wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.